Hey guys, uh, can anyone just help me test the sound here? Type in the chat. Should be below or next to the video. Um, Let me know if you can hear me, how the sound is, right? Are you seeing what you should see, and all of that? All right, guys. So just gonna get started here. Um, First, I guess what we're going to do is for people who are here on the weekend, we put together a list and told the robot under certain conditions to only trade the list if certain criteria were met. So we're going to go over and see which of those triggered, in what way they triggered, and then kind of revamp and build the list for tomorrow. So if I bring in these windows here, these are windows from yesterday. So this is the alert windows that the robot watches to choose which of what we were looking at yesterday actually triggers. So you can see there was a multiple on Facebook, but for these windows we are only looking at the first and initial move. So if I bring these over, you can click on this. One of the beauties of trade is it's the wrap-ups become a lot easier because you can click here and okay, guys, I think we may be back here. Sorry. Hopefully that's the only time that happens tonight. I think I figured out the issue. It wasn't related to my internet. It was something else. We should be good here. So again, if you can see everything, just pop out in the chat there and let me know that everything's okay. But I'll just kind of continue. So the first trigger today was actually a short on Facebook. You can see here on this reverse 5. So basically the bot was looking at this come up, make this big topping tail, and reverse lower. So you can see it had a slight move in my direction and then chopped around, and basically I was watching it and I noticed that it had been about an hour and nothing happened. So that one we got taken out as a flat, which is fine. Next was Cree. This was very, very slow. I'll have to make sure that this is my notes not to kind of hurry on trading this one for tomorrow, because it triggered here at 72 and got as high as maybe 90. So just a gain, but a particularly small one. Just nothing really happened. So I'll keep that in mind going forward, that this one's a little bit too choppy for me. Says it has an ATR of 71 cents. I'm wondering if this candle here might actually be disturbing that. So ACIA was probably the one to write home about today. We were looking at this one, put in a nice hammer candle, was sold off in this area. Fed this into the bot. It saw this kind of sharp pull down here and took on this green 5-minute candle. stop would have went below here. So a trigger in at 26 and a stop at 04. You're talking less than 20 cents risk, and this one closed up at 47.07. I got out the majority right below 47, just knowing that whole numbers sometimes offer as resistance, and held the rest until the end of the day, where I was hoping that, you know, we would get maybe a little bit of fake out here, pull back, and then continue higher. But still can't complain about that one at all. Target was another long. We were seeing this kind of bear or bull flag here. Let me zoom in a bit on my charts. Oh, and I've got this neat little tool to play with. Yeah, so we were just looking at this kind of flag here after this strong move higher, and the bottoming tail that I put in on Friday, so we fed that in. You can see that we opened up pretty flat, and when we sold back into yesterday's low, on this green candle here is where we got our entry. This one pushed up nicely. I got out again before the 56 hole number on a bunch. I think I had an order out a little bit higher, and then when it pulled back in this bar, I just killed most of it, and then it chopped into the close. The shorts just did not work today, and I think that was, when we take a look at the market later, we're going to see why. But we had a trigger in ATVI up here, pulled back a little bit in our favor, and then stopped us out for a small loss up here. And ABCO was also just did nothing all day, right? Triggered up in here and then just chopped sideways. So there was kind of two small losers, I would say, Facebook and ATVI. Three decent winners in the longs here. And then this ABCO just did literally nothing. So this will definitely not make it on any list tomorrow after we saw what it did today. So that's the wrap up. Just taking a look at what happened with the bot today. All in all, with this particular strategy, certainly no complaints. Market was interesting today. I don't know if there was some news I missed or something happened, but we were just kind of noting that as long as we're in a small base within a large base, so we're just kind of waiting to kind of go forward. And just kind of chop sideways here. So as long as we're in this base, I'm still going to look for just overbought, oversold things with topping and bottoming tails. So yeah, we're in this base, and then we're just in this tight base. So what I was wondering is, I didn't really know what happened was this kind of weird candle here that happened in the morning. So a bit of a volume spike on it too, and then we just kind of negated it. So a mini flash crash maybe, maybe just trying to get some people excited to do something in the market, but it wasn't really very interesting, really. So the plan remains the same. Look for things that are overbought and oversold. So first we're going to go through, I'm just bringing up the symbol lists here. And clearing them out. And again, for anyone who doesn't know, if you go over to Trade Ideas, you can kind of create your own symbol list. So what I do is I take I use Trade Ideas to filter the entire market into a kind of bucket of stocks of about 20 that interest me for the next day. I feed them into a symbol list, and then I put them into an alert window, and I tell Trade Ideas to only show me if and when those 20 symbols that I thought were interesting do something else in which I think would be a good entry criteria or exit criteria for the market. From then, I feed that into my bot, who will then auto trade them. But I have a couple clients that I mentor as discretionary traders, and they just use these as alert windows where they clear everything off their screen, and they know they're only going to trade these things that they've narrowed down and narrowed down. So the place that you build these lists, you just go to Trade Ideas Account Management, and on the side here, you can click Symbol Lists, and you can just fill them in here. So down here are the lists that we created on the weekend for trading today. So we're going to take a look at the short side first. This is one that triggered, and it's you can just see the 5-minute chart. It was awful to trade. ATVI, it triggered and didn't work. I'm going to add this back into the list because it's still fairly overbought. It's been up a huge run in a row. We had a topping tail up here today, and it was a fairly clean trader today. So even though the trade didn't work, I don't think it's kind of completely should be abandoned. CCL still going to stay on the list. I'm just watching for this one to pull back at some point. It's just been absolutely on fire. Facebook didn't work today. I really don't like this strong close way up here. I am going to think I'm going to keep watching it, but I don't like how this thing kind of closed super strong like this. We're going to notice, because we had a kind of do-nothing day, that a lot of the things that I was looking at yesterday, like this MASI, also are going to hold true today. Team, however, I'm not going to play with this gap and go here, so we'll leave that one off. TER is not, true is not really interesting. So we've taken kind of what we were looking at for yesterday, wrapped that up, figured out what worked, what didn't. No real notes. I usually try to take one thing away from each day's trading, but it wasn't really working out too well. So everything, there wasn't really any, I guess, major event, I'm trying to say. So there's nothing that I could really take away for tomorrow's trading, because everything was kind of the ones that worked better than the ones that didn't. You know, I batted like a little over 50% win rate. That was, yeah, so like about 60%. So it's not that big of a deal one way or the other. So I'm going to continue to look for the same things for tomorrow. So again, I can share these with some people if they're interested. There's some custom formulas and other ones that I can share the customs if you wanted to build them yourself. But this first one is just my topping tail, and it's basically just looking for things that are up, and I'm personally want to see them incredibly overextended or up into a resistance area, but it's just looking for daily charts with a topping tail in them. This NCLH is interesting here. I'm going to add this one in. What was interesting to me is that we're finally up in this. Whoa, that's a big line. Hold on. Yeah, we've run up pretty significantly, right? A big run up into this area here. Could be, if I was long from this move at all, anywhere in this move, I would be looking at this overhead resistance, and I might be a little bit off put. So I'll take a look to see if we're going to pull back from that tomorrow. So NCLH. The other thing is down here, if you want to just know some quick and basic info on the security, it's all going to be right here, right? Volume today was 2.3 million, which is about double what it normally does. Average true range, short float, options volume was in line with the relative volume, doing about double the normal options. So yeah, it's just a nice little way to take a quick look and say, okay, is this something that's viable to trade? Because, you know, it might have an ATR of 20 cents or 30 cents, or it might have not enough volume for you. Just a good way to make sure that the stuff you're looking at is stuff that you're actually going to be interested in trading tomorrow. The other thing is you can actually go through, and under the profile, there's some fundamental type stuff if you wanted to find out kind of what the company does and what sector it is. that type of information. Not really too concerned with myself. One thing I will do with sectors that I think is very important when you're making a watch list for the next day is just make sure there's some diversity of sectors. If you go in tomorrow and you see a pattern that you really like and you pick 10 stocks with that pattern, and it turns out that they're all banks, then you essentially just created a watch list with one giant stock on it. You know, so if everything triggers, then it's all going to trigger at the same time, and it's all going to either work together or not work together. So let me go back here. This LUV is interesting. We had a gap down. It's kind of inched its way up here to close the gap and put in this topping tail with a pretty decent late day sell-off here. 4 million shares a day and dollar average true range. So let's add LUV in here. I do see some questions in the chat, and if you're watching, you can definitely check out the chat. It's either going to be to the side or below, and I will get to those kind of when I'm done building the list here. So you notice, and that's something exactly, I guess, what I was talking about by knowing the sectors, is UAL has an interesting pattern here where after the gap down, we had a bounce up to fill the gap, and then we've just kind of been chopping sideways with a late day sell-off. But they're both airlines, so it wouldn't make any sense to put both of them in the watch list together, right? They would trigger about the same time and win or lose. So if I really wanted to do that, I would just be better off taking double the size in the LUV position if it triggers. I think I'm going to give EVHC another try here. I've been stocking this one for a while. It's been on my list a few times now. I like this kind of dramatic sell-off and this sideways base. It kind of looks like what happened here, where we based sideways for a while and then we chopped lower. And it looks like here we're basing sideways a bit and then possibly chopping lower. So add that one in. And again, all of these might trigger, none of these may trigger. More likely, I'm going to build a list of about 10 long and 10 short. We're up to 7 short now. And I'm going to get 5 trades out of 20 symbols. So just so you know that if something like this that I put on my list and say you're watching it too and it gaps up $5 overnight or tomorrow, just know that the robot won't be trading it because he wouldn't actually really watch. He wouldn't watch that because I just have stipulations in that say if it's too far outside of yesterday's range, essentially if when it's trading tomorrow, if the chart doesn't look similar to what it looks like right now, I'm not interested because I'm building a totally technical case. So if the technicals change overnight, then I should change my opinion on it as well. Zoom out a little here. All right, so nothing, well, that's about the end of that list there. The list right below it is just stocks comparing the low of the day to the close and just looking for things that have closed very near their lows. This I pay more attention to when I'm interested in momentum style trading. But as we noted, the market has just been chopping sideways, hasn't really been doing much interesting. So if the market's just going to chop sideways, then I'm just going to try to look for things near support and resistance as opposed to try to chasing momentum. I am still taking a look at this, but again, it's more of a momentum markets game. And the last thing we'll look at here is we'll just look at this as a just an overbought scan. So it's just looking for things that are outside of statistically where they would. So it uses Bollinger Bands, and it just says, okay, everything it's going to show me is outside the upper end of that band, just noting that statistically speaking, it's rare to have a stock up this high. Too high, too fast. And if anybody's ever traded revision to the mean style, that doesn't mean it's going to stop. It just means that you might want to take a look at this, and if you start to see sellers come in, it's got some room to snap lower. Now I'm going to add Zillow back on here. We got a nice trade in Zillow on Friday, and it kind of reversed that today, but still couldn't get going. You notice that each of these candles were getting bigger and bigger and bigger as it was going. And then we reversed here, but we weren't able to kind of pick up steam and take out this candle's high. So as long as we're kind of under the $40-ish area, I think there's still a chance that the people that were long up in here might take this as a second chance to get out, essentially. So we're going to look for one more. And that's kind of the limit, as I stop looking when I reach 10, just because I don't want too many trades tomorrow. It's one of the things that you can definitely get caught up with any program like Trade Ideas, where you are just bombarded with as much information as you possibly want. At some point you have to just call it. You have to say, okay, that's enough. You know, even though they're going to be auto traded tomorrow, I don't want a million symbols. You know, in case something happens in the market, I don't want to be in long and short an incredible amount at the same time. Our last one here is going to be CERN, CERN. I like the gap, a topping tail today along with yesterday, dramatic decrease in volume. If we kind of break this support area here, forget about my tool here, kind of this line here, we could see some down movement, I think, tomorrow. All right, so what you'll notice is in a minute or two, these lists down here, this short one anyway, is actually going to update with the new symbols, and we'll go through that before we call it a night. Hoping to get this well under an hour, just to keep the upload time small, and that's about enough time to stare at someone staring at his computer, trying to pick stocks. So. We had a lot of these ones that I was looking at did bounce today. I just didn't get triggered in many. I'm going to put SHLD back in. I think this one, if it does get going, I think it can. The candles are starting to get insanely small. Kind of feels like it's coiling for a move higher. And target we're going to put back in here. So essentially on the short side, I'm just going to be flipping, or on the long side, I'm going to be flipping what I did there on the short side, just looking at this hammer candle, which is just going to show a bottoming tail, looking for a bottoming tail right there. And ideally, I want to see something that's basing sideways, showing bullish action, or pulling back, showing bullish action. AME is interesting to me here. We had this big run up, and ever since then it's just been basing sideways. They tried to push it down today, and look at this kind of pull back up here. Okay, and INTU I'm going to add as well. We had a gap up few days back here, and then we've just kind of been basing sideways ever since then. Every time they've kind of come down to this 125 area, they've been pushed back up. So it's a nice little short-term support. And then hopefully, if we hold through here, we can get a move up from there. This is the art side of the art and science. QCOM. Add QCOM in here. A gap down under all of this support here. So we gap down under this support, way down here. Climbed back the entire day yesterday. They tried to push down today, and we're just met with buyers every time. So basically what I'm going to be feeding into the bot is saying, okay, if we get some sort of pull down again, and then that pullback gets met with kind of aggressive buying, then we'll buy in here, and stop will go here, and we'll see if we can get just some momentum up through there for a trade tomorrow. NTAP, I think we actually are going to add NTAP back in. And IR, which kind of looks, we're getting a lot of symbols like these. I'll have to check to see how closely they are related after the stream, but a lot of these similar type of gap up spent the last 3 or 4 days just basing sideways. On the intraday chart, you can see strong resist or support in this area. So if basically it's one of those things that if the sellers keep trying and they keep failing, at some point they're going to give up and we'll look for a push higher. But the beauty of it is if we get down into this area tomorrow and it kind of negates this trade, the robot will just stop looking at it. So target, it's good to see when it shows up on a scan, you already have it in its list. And again, target's just the same kind of view, and the same thing we've been looking for this whole time, right? We want to see something that's been moving higher, pulling back, and then on an intraday basis, because we are day traders, just looking for support to move higher. This AFSI is such a weird looking chart. It comes up on the scans all the time, all these gaps. I'm gonna stay far away from that. ALSN is interesting here. I think I'm gonna add this one as well. Two more, and again with ALSN we're just looking at this big gap up and then it's been pulling back, getting very close to this kind of $38 gap area here. Let me just straighten out my lines. Yeah, so if we gap up, fill the gap, quite often you'll see some buyers come in, at least for a small bounce, which is perfect for us day traders to just try to get a slight move there. Goldman Sachs is interesting as well. It's a little bit too volatile for me. I don't think I'd get away with the small stops that I put in everything, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Yeah, that one's... HDS is interesting here. I think we're going to add this one as our last one. We've been in this channel for a long time. We had this strong push up, and then we've been basing sideways here. You can see that, you know, another clear intraday support in and around this $40 area. So again, as long as I think we hold this, I think we might look for a push higher. So add that in, and then that will be our list. Let me bring over here the chat. We'll do a quick Q&A, and then we'll call it a day. See if we can maybe speed this up even more tomorrow. So basically we're talking here about a custom formula that he's using currently in Thinkorswim, and he's wondering if he can build it within Trade Ideas. No, currently, if you're looking for the previous day's value of just a moving average, so you can kind of queue the system and say what was the moving average at this time. Currently, I don't think Trade Ideas can do that. You can email them directly, but they might actually send you to me. I think it's info@tradeaideas.com. That should take you directly to them. They might send you back to me, to be honest, but I really don't think there's a way. I know there's a way to reference yesterday's high, low, open, close. There's a way to reference the last 30, 60-minute highs, last 20-day highs, 5-day highs, and lows, and that type of thing. But I don't think there's a way just to reference a specific moving average in a previous day. I don't know if you've seen this, but I can give you the link with the custom formulas here. There's this kind of PDF that I'm just posting in the chat below here that you can take, and you can kind of it's got different hyperlinks to it, but it's pretty much the whole, it explains everything you can and can't do within the system. So I mean to reference the value of the 20 SMA of the previous candle. I don't think you can, unfortunately. I don't think you'll be able to do that one. You can always email them. They are open to always building new things in the system. They're open to moving averages and stuff like that. They're actually going to start introducing indicators on their charts fairly soon, so they may be able to build something in when they have more and more indicators on their chart. It might be easier for them to build in kind of the reference data to those indicators, right? Because they're going to be watching them anyway. So before we take off, I hope YouTube is recording this. I'm not too sure. If not, we might go back to the other way that I do the recordings that won't allow any background music. But I got an email telling them that they didn't like that I was playing music. So I'll have to research that and see how that works. But if there's any more questions, I'll wait around for a minute or two, and you can type them in the chat. And if not, I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll do hopefully something a little bit shorter. What I might do is I might do the scanning beforehand, and I might just come with you guys with a complete list, so there's not, minutes at a time of dead air while I'm staring at charts. Okay, guys. So with that, I will see you tomorrow, and be safe out there tomorrow.